Hi, hello, and welcome back to F1 Challenge Career Mode. My name is Mephisto, and today we're heading off to Monaco for round 7 of the 2001 Formula 1 season. And before we begin, I'd like to say that this is actually the second time I had to record this video. The first time around, I ran out of hard drive space, with about 4 or 5 laps remaining in the race, which is unfortunate because it was in the rain and I actually ended up winning the race. That's a big thing because I've never won the Monaco Grand Prix in the rain before, but as I just said, I ran out of hard drive space, so I had to delete the video, I had to get rid of a few things from my hard drive and start all over again. It's quite annoying to be honest, but such is life I guess. So let's get started.
Located within the urban setting of Monte Carlo, the claustrophobic Monaco street circuit is essentially a never-ending sequence of hairpin turns and chicanes with no margin for error. Whilst the jewel in Formula One's crown makes for a truly glamorous sponsor-friendly spectacle, it is very much an anachronism in today's safety-orientated era.
And we jump straight into qualifying, where I was struggling a fair bit, but that's okay. Knowing the AI and how they behave on this track, I shouldn't have too much problems in the race. That lap time was a 1:33.657. That was quite slow, but later on I went out for another go, and this time I decided to try out the dry grooved tires. I was a bit quicker, with a lap time of 1:30.146, but I was still comparatively slow. But then I went out for one last time, and I managed to improve my lap time even more, with a 1:28.393, my fastest of the session, but I was still around 7 seconds off pole time. See you on the grid.
Hello there. Welcome to Monte Carlo for round 7 of the 2001 FIA Formula One World Championship. The weather, as so often is the case here, is just wonderful. Mika Hakkinen, first. Montoya, second. Raikkonen, third. Irvine, fourth. Rubens Barrichello consistently outpaced his championship rival, the BAR driver. David Coulthard, sixth. Giancarlo Fisichella, seventh. Olivier Panis was consistently faster than his teammate. He starts eighth. Ralf Schumacher, ninth. Schumacher, 10th. Bertie, 11th. Alonso, 12th. Jos Verstappen, 13th. Nick Heidfeld, 14th. Jean Alesi, 15th. Button, 16th. The BAR driver, 17th. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, 18th. Jarno Trulli, 19th. Bernaldi, 20th. Marquez, 21st. Pedro de la Rosa, 22nd.
Here we are on the grid for the start of the Monaco Grand Prix. There to my left lies Jenson Button. We're waiting for the light to go out, and I hope that I can do as good as I did in the video that I had to scrap. And we're off. Quite a slow start, and the game started to lag for some reason, so I apologize for that. Once rendered, it should look a bit better, but the lag was quite real, and I don't understand why. This game shouldn't really be lagging, like ever. At this point the lag was so bad actually that I had to pull the paddle shifter a few times before it even registered a gear change. So all of that was quite annoying, but we managed to gain a couple of positions and a few more coming into Mirabeau. But Alonso comes back at me immediately. Here is a replay of the start, and for some reason the lag was quite apparent in the replay as well. I mean, I know I have a super old computer, but come on, this should not happen. Not with this game anyway. So this was the start. There was a bit of contact there, as expected in Monaco, But I'm not going to show you every single incident because quite frankly I don't have the space necessary to record it all. Suffice to say that most of the retirement will be due to lost rear wings, just like Fernando Alonso who I'm about to overtake. So I was now in P13 and all I had to do really was to make sure that I keep the car in one piece until the end of the race. I still tried to push a bit, but nowhere near as much as I would do on any other track. So I've now caught up to Sean Lacey and was thinking about overtaking him. However, I had to make sure I did it in a place where it was safe. But here is a replay of Verstappen who goes to overtake Lacey and ends up in the barrier, breaking his rear wing, which will obviously result in a retirement. By the way, have I ever told you how bad the AI is on this track? No? Well, the AI is very, very bad on this track. But we're now coming around to finish our first lap, as John Lacey decides to make himself acquainted with the barriers. I wasn't even trying to pressure him. Oh well. Here it is in slow motion. He smacks into the barrier on the right, then into the one on the left, essentially wiping himself out of the race. I was actually planning to overtake him through San Devot, but oh well, I guess this works too. But that was lap 1, and as we come into turn 1, there's a massive pile up. We have Raikkonen in the Sauber, my teammate in the second BAR, and Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari. I pass Schumacher and Raikkonen, then for no reason whatsoever, my teammate decides to slow down all of a sudden, and I had nowhere else to go other than into the back of his car. Here's a replay of that pile up. We got Coulthard, Raikkonen and the Benetton of Giancarlo Fisichella racing into San Devot. Raikkonen hits Coulthard, parking his car on top of the McLaren. Then, Panis comes along and hits Kimi Raikkonen. This is another view from my car just before the incident. I thread myself past Schumacher and Raikkonen, accelerate up to speed, and as we approach this left-hand kink, Panis decides to slow down for no reason. Well, I guess you could say that he was slowing down because of his missing wing, but to me it seemed more like the game registered a bit too late that he was missing that wing. I was quite frustrated with all this, and rightfully so, but I decided to let it go and focus on the race instead. We are now coming into the pits to replace our damaged front wing, as David Coulthard is coming in to retire. But while that's going on, let's have a look at some replays. Here is Jarno Trulli in the Jordan. He slows down for the Nouvelle chicane. Marquez then hits him and actually goes underneath Trulli's Jordan, flipping it to its side. The Jordan then flips itself over, comes around and smacks into the tire wall where it will remain for the rest of the race. This is a replay of a contact between Panis and Bernoldi, which took place at the same time as the incident involving Trulli and Marquez. Bernoldi slightly tapped the rear of the BAR, he lost control and ended up hitting the wall, breaking off his rear wing, and I almost didn't notice that the lollipop man was signaling me to go, so that lost me even more time. A little bit later, I came across Pedro de la Rosa, who was missing a front wing, so I just went ahead and passed him, and I was now once again chasing after Tarso Marquez, and I'm catching up to him quite quickly. Now, as we are coming into the Nouvelle chicane, where Trulli is stuck, I further decreased the gap. I'm now right on Marquez's gearbox. There's Trulli right there. As I said, that's where he'll be for the entire race. Now, as we come into Tabac, Marquez crashes into the Jordan of Frentzen, flipping it upside down. And for some reason, the car didn't despawn after this for the majority of the race. Here's a replay of all that. There's Frentzen, Marquez, and myself. Marquez tried to stick to the inside line but was squeezed out by Frentzen. That flipped Frentzen's car over and ended Marquez's race. That was an interesting sight to say the least. But we are now in ninth. Next is Michael Schumacher. He is around 20 seconds down the road, so we really need to start pushing here, since we don't know exactly how many more retirements there will be, and relying solely on retirements is a bit stupid to be honest. One lap later, as I was starting to decrease the gap to Michael Schumacher, I come around Tabac once more to find that the Jordan of Heinz-Harald Frentzen has moved. That's something it will do constantly. It will change its position with every lap, and that will throw me off every single time because I never knew where it would be. A couple of laps later, the casualties continued to rack up. This time, it was a genuine failure in the form of a broken suspension for Mika Hakkinen. No replay though because it was in a pretty awkward angle and you could barely see anything. But I figured I'd show you Hakinen's car just as I passed it. So I was now in P7, just one spot away from the point, and I was poised to try and win the race. A few laps later I was up in 4th and there were only 2 or 3 cars behind me at this point, as Pedro de la Rosa was having problem with his car, adding even more to the retirements list. De la Rosa is coming through Massanet, then down through Casino, when his engine starts to let out smoke, signaling the end of the Jaguar. And there is Luciano Berti, who somehow didn't notice the Jaguar and collided with it. So yeah, by this point more than half the field had retired, more precisely 14 out of 22 starters were out of the race. Quite a lot, especially since we were not even halfway through the race. A few corners later I caught up to Luciano Berti, who was slow due to his missing front wing. So I was getting ready to pass him through Tabak. And as we exit the turn, Berti slows down a lot, and we can see that Frenton's Jordan had moved quite a bit. But I was now in 3rd place. This race was beginning to play out very much like the one I had to delete. We are now coming around to finish lap 10, and 2nd place Eddie Irvine was in the pits. So I pass Irvine and move up into 2nd. Next was race leader Fisichella, who was around 24 seconds ahead. Coming through Tabak once more, I decreased the gap to Fisichella a bit, and the Raikkonen stops right in the middle of the corner. That was a pretty dumb move, even if it was to let me lap him. Stopping in the middle of a turn is just stupid and quite frankly dangerous. One lap later, we come through Tabak again. This time, Frenton's car had moved significantly. It was now almost on the racing line. The fact that it was moving all the time wasn't helping me at all. I once again come to Tabak just to find that the Jordan has once again shifted its position. It was now right on the racing line. This was quite frustrating. One lap later, my engineer radios in to tell me that race leader Fisichella was having problems with his gearbox. This means that I will be taking control of the race. So, for the very first time this season, we will be leading a race. The Monaco Grand Prix no less, which is a first in this career mode. It will be even more amazing if we can win the race. After all, it's every Formula 1 driver's dream to win the Monaco Grand Prix, at least once in their career. And who can blame them? A few laps later, I once again come around Tabak to find that Frenton's car had moved again. That was so close. I'm amazed that I didn't actually crash into him. But Raikkonen did, and I almost lost control of the car there. So here's a replay. There's Kimi Raikkonen coming around through Tabak. He crashes into Frenton's Jordan, completely breaking his suspension. Let's have another look. We are now on board the Raikkonen's Sauber. He comes through the left-hander. The Jordan is in a very bad place. They collide, wheels flying off, both the Sauber and the Jordan. And that is actually the last official retirement of the race. Only myself and Irvine were left running. And there are the Jordan and the Sauber. So yeah, 20 cars retired during this race. That's insane. On lap 22, I come into the pits for a bit more fuel because I didn't have enough to finish the race. Then, coming around to finish lap 23 and start lap 24, 3 more laps left in the race, when I get a visit from our old friend brake pad wear. What a disaster. It causes my car to spin around, and that's not something you want on a track as narrow as Monaco. And here I am struggling to turn the car around. Eddie Irvine getting closer and closer with each passing second. I hit the wall, breaking my front wing. This is a complete disaster. It's going to cost me 1st place. We'll have to settle for 2nd place, which in our case is almost like finishing in last place, considering that there are only 2 cars on the track. So here I am coming in to replace my broken wing. In the background we can hear Eddie Irvine getting closer and closer. At one point I actually thought that I might just be able to exit the pits in front of Irvine, but no such luck. There goes Irvine taking 1st place, and there goes our chance to win the Monaco Grand Prix. There's really no point in trying to push because quite frankly I can't without brakes on all 4 wheels. This is the final lap. Irvine is now a good 5 seconds off the road. I come around through Mirabeau. I brake a bit too late for the car to slow down significantly and hit the wall. And then as I come through the hairpin I slide again into the wall and break my rear wing. This is going to be fun. Now, coming through the tunnel, the lack of rear downforce sends my car into another spin. This actually happened through every single corner since I lost my rear wing. But here we are coming around to finish the Monaco Grand Prix. We are in second place, but as I said, since there were only 2 cars left, this felt more like finishing in 22nd. And that is the end for this BAR. At least I don't have to put up with it for the wind down lap. And look at all those retirements. Let's see the standings.
At the end of an unbelievable Monaco Grand Prix, here are the final results. Eddie Irvine, first. The BAR driver, second. With the results confirmed, it's high time we updated the Drivers' Championship. Coulthard, first.
David Coulthard is still leading the Drivers' Championship with 40 points. Second is Michael Schumacher with 30 points. Montoya is third with 20 points. Joining Hakkinen and Ralf Schumacher in fourth is Eddie Irvine with 13 points. I move up into fifth with 12 points. Heidfeld is sixth with 10 points. Barrichello is seventh with 7 points. Raikkonen, Verstappen, and Button share eighth with 4 points. And Frentzen is 10th with 2 points.
McLaren maintain their lead of the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari are second, whilst third place is held by Williams.
McLaren are still in the lead of the Constructors' Championship with 53 points. Ferrari are second with 37 points. Williams are third with 33 points. Sauber are fourth with 14 points. Moving up into fifth are Jaguar with 13 points. Our team is sixth with 12 points. Benetton and Arrows share seventh with 4 points. And finally Jordan, who are eighth with 2 points. So, depending on which side you look at, you can consider this race as either a success or a failure. It's a success since we at least scored some points, but it is a failure because I lost the race on the final 3 laps, which is quite embarrassing to be honest. I didn't actually expect to have brake pad issues here, but I guess it can happen anywhere. But the real shame is that I had to record the race a second time. If I would have not run out of hard drive space, we would have seen a race in which I win. But again, I ran out of space before the race even ended. So I had to delete that recording, uninstall a few things, and record again. I think I need a bigger hard drive. But at the end of the day, we did score 6 points, so that should help us a bit in the championship. Anyway, our next race will be the Canadian Grand Prix, where I am actually expecting to do quite well. Until next time, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I wish you all a happy Halloween, and as always, stay sharp.